Welcome to the Escape Rope Podcast. This is North here. I'm joined by 4 guests. First we have...
I'm Mimetrix.
Naughty Rope. Red.
And joining us from another world, ooh...
I'm Elberic.
Alright, and this is Ilbrick. So, basically, we're a bunch of nerds. We play D&D, we watch anime, all that kind of jazz. And today we decided to sit down and talk about particularly anime in this phase. We're going to give you a little bit of a profile of each of us by recommending 2 anime and why. And then we'll get into maybe some other topics, see how it goes. So, Mime, why don't you start us off with 2 anime you'd recommend and why?
So, right off the bat, my top favorite anime currently is going to be Attack on Titan. I'm currently watching the 3rd season, and I am very, very up to date with the manga. So, for those of you who don't know what Attack on Titan is, basically the premise is a group of people are trapped within 3 different walls. And beyond these walls, on the outer layer, there's a bunch of titans. Go figure. These titans basically are eating all the people, hence why there are walls. So there is a military that is designed to take out all the titans, protect the people, and to find out why titans exist. So for the most part, it is a gore sort of ish anime, and it is a mystery. Sort of. I've seen gorier animes. It is definitely up there. It's not too gory, but it is definitely a mystery, action, thriller, suspense as well. Right now in the season 3 is so far my favorite season, I will have to say. A lot going on. There's a lot going on. So that is definitely one I really, truly recommend. Another one on a little bit of a different end of the spectrum is going to be kind of about, it's an Alice in Wonderland vibe. It's Pandora Hearts. It's kind of an anime nobody's really heard of. Very impossible to find. But if you're into kind of like the Alice in Wonderland aspect, along with time traveling, along with demons and magic, and it's got a lot going on.
Into literally anything.
Yeah.
It's got like contracts involved. There's cults. If you like a lot of stuff, that is definitely an anime you want to go watch. Even the manga is super hard to find, but I'm still trying to find it. I'm missing like 3 different volumes. Basically, oh god, I don't want to give anything away, but if you're into any of that, go check it out, because it's a good anime. It's not a top tier anime, but it's a good anime.
Perfect. And yeah, I should kind of preface that with saying we do have some kind of honorable mentions. What we each did is we took 2 that aren't necessarily like the most popular. Like, I'm not going to be like, watch Naruto, have you heard of it? So some of the honorable mentions, ones that we maybe all recommend, or at least say like take a look into: Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood,
of course,
Death Note, Naruto.
No, please don't.
I actually might not recommend all of Naruto anymore, but yeah, if you guys have any like quick mentions before we actually fire off into explanations.
You mean Boruto's dad, right?
Oh, dude, I love Boruto.
Please. No.
Give me more Boruto's dad.
Yeah, but absolutely, like, you've probably heard, if you're listening to this, you've probably heard a million people talk about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. That's great.
Yeah.
Avatar, if you technically agree. And, yeah, do you guys have any, like, super high tier ones you want to just say, like, look at it?
Honestly, like, Attack on Titan, super big fan. The obvious ones like My Academia. I really quite like Parasite. That one kind of was like super left field when we watched that one. Super cheeseball ending in my mind. It went really cheeseball, but at the first like
spoiler alert.
3/4, it does end, and to me it seemed kind of cheeseball. And I was like, you know what, I can tolerate it.
Yeah,
because it was so good up to that point. I'm like, you know what, I'm okay with the last field goal missing. It's like,
totally. I will forget where I am. Go ahead. Yeah, so to talk about yours, I think that Attack on Titan is really good. I'm actually not all the way caught up, but I have heard that this season isn't the best, so hearing your endorsement of it kind of gets me interested. And
I think my opinion's a little biased as well, because in the manga, this is my favorite arc.
Okay.
I think there's also very much, it depends on what you're in there for Attack on Titan for. Like, for me, Attack on Titan, the first season is the best season, just like for My Hero Academia. Most people might disagree with me, but the first season is the best season because it shows the most struggle of the main cast.
I do
and after
disagree
that
with you.
first season, yeah, they kind of move out of that real personal struggle. And for me, because that's what I'm there for, it's not to say that next seasons are bad by any stretch. It's just that first season showed a more personal struggle, which was more relatable, and therefore I like the first season.
Yeah, I can
more.
get behind that. I do think the first season of Attack on Titan is really nice, and it's still it's still brand new in your mind. It's not something that you really expected going into it. Those first couple episodes,
And you can't go
really
wrong
make
with that
make you
opening.
think. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying you can't go wrong with that opening title. Just that song just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, season 2, definitely. Opening title season 2 is the best.
Also, at this point, we will probably be talking about spoilers in general. We'll try and keep it like marginally vague, but if we ever get into spoilers, just understand that you're screwed.
Well, I just realized really quick for Parasite, I didn't back off entirely because someone was like, "Oh, it's a little bit of spoilers." I just backed off. It is like a body horror thing, but it has like this kind of cool, like suspenseful, got to figure stuff out element to it that I really liked, and it was a good thing.
Do we really need a spoiler warning when things are like older than 5 years, though?
Well, I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Slap one at the start.
There's some that don't like we probably might get into My Hero spoilers, and there's some people who haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, like discussing stuff like Naruto or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I mean, those have been around for so long.
I literally finished Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood like 2 days ago. Just so I'd be ready for this. Yeah, it absolutely is one of the greats, and I'll probably get into why later. But
it was my actual first. Although I watched the original one that aired first, and then Brotherhood, I got that, watched the whole thing, and then I basically the most stereotypical run ever, where I immediately went to Avatar, which is technically not a thing, and then immediately went to Legend of Korra, and then just kept following. Like everyone's like, "Here, watch this. This is great." Everyone knows it's a dinger every time. So
if we really want to get technical, want to get technical, I'm like got my hand placed out on the table like I'm ready to spread some true knowledge. I actually stole this. I think it's from the Anime Man on YouTube. Yeah. But in Japan, anime is just animated things. So in Japan, Shrek is an anime.
Oh, okay.
So really, we changed the definition over here because we consider anime like Japanese cartoons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because anime, the definition is animation. It's just a shortened form.
Yeah, I just remember someone getting real sweaty on me for suggesting that.
Well,
they're like, "What's your favorite one?" I'm like, "Well, I'm really digging Avatar," and I was like,
"Well, it's like when people
oh man,
people saying Ruby is not an anime."
Yeah. Well, so welcome to the Escape Rope Podcast, where we talk about anime and anime-inspired cartoons.
It all comes down to definition. That's all it is.
Yeah. We're not about semantics until this is over, and when it's not on, and I don't care about looking good, then we're all about semantics. All right. Okay, Ilbrick. What are your two?
I don't have, I think, as much of a range as a lot of you guys. I really liked Kame ga Kill because it sets up a really cool kind of bleak world.
Mm-hmm.
But still has the over-the-top anime action.
Yeah.
So similar to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood in some ways, but the world feels a lot bleaker.
Yeah, I think Akame ga Kill for me has the record for the most surprising first episode or two.
Oh.
It was, the first episode really gets you hooked with the unexpected, horrific bloodshed, and then it kind of gets better for a bit, then it gets worse again.
Alright.
Sorry, we have Naughty Rope over here just giving us some questionable looks right now.
I'm just the comparison of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Kill la Kill, like
Akame ga Kill.
Oh, Akame ga Kill. I thought I said Kill la Kill.
No.
I'm just like, wait, what? What's the comparison?
I get the confusion.
Like, I obviously wasn't paying enough attention because I'm just thinking, like, wait, what? There's a bleak universe here? When did women in swimsuits become a bleak universe? Okay, I apologize. Now I'm understanding it. Get the
Are you familiar with Akame ga Kill?
That's the one with the team of female assassins, and then the male assassin joins in.
They're not all female, but yeah.
Oh yeah, there's one other guy. Sorry, I'm thinking of how the author, when he presented his idea,
Oh, maybe.
he presented as a team of beautiful female assassins, and that's how he ended up getting his manga published.
I can think
It's a
of
winning strategy.
right off the bat. I know there, at least at the start, there's two other male assassins, and then spoilers later there could be more or less.
I'm reading the
More or
I'm reading the
less.
manga, so I'm actually disappointed how it actually kind of moves away from the bleak storytelling a little bit.
Yeah, I heard some really weird things about the manga, about some like
It goes a little gross
offensive
sometimes.
stuff,
It goes a little
and,
gross sometimes.
to continue to interrupt Ilbert. I really liked the first few episodes of Kamiga Kill. Later in the series, I personally think that it dropped off, but I think it's still worth a watch.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The ending felt kind of rushed or not as well thought out as the initial introduction to the universe.
Yeah.
Well, the ending still hasn't happened. Well, it probably is in the Japanese, but in the English, I don't think they've come to the ending in the manga yet. So it explains that it's rushed because they didn't have the writer actually producing them with the proper ending.
And same with the original.
Yeah.
Same with the original Full Metal.
Exactly.
It starts out very strong, maybe even stronger than Brotherhood in the first maybe half, but
They do have that
once
cool
you
train
veer off.
episode that they don't do in Brotherhood. I like that one.
Yeah, you're right. And what's your second?
For like a kind of silly one, I really enjoy Seven Deadly Sins.
Oh, it's so silly, so dumb, yet so enjoyable.
It's funny because every other person I've talked to outside of our group has said they couldn't do it. They can't stand it, which is weird because I think a lot of these people are watching it by themselves, but a lot of us have watched it together.
Well,
There's
But also
nothing like
related-
watching.
It's
Never mind.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, that might be like this, like Psychic Eye. I feel like if I watched it on my own, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. But watching it with the group, the way we did, I was laughing my ass off, like to a verge of tears at times.
Yeah.
I think it also comes down to what your expectations are. When you have something like Seven Deadly Sins, Life of Psyche K, or even, let's just say, Panty and Stalking, if you go into that with a wrong mindset, if you're looking for a specific type of anime and that's what you get, you're going to be like, well, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I saw Panty and Stalking, I'm like, this is stupid. I didn't want to watch more than one episode. Then it was recommended to me again by a friend, and I watched it, and I'm like, wait, this is actually amazing.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it the first time.
You weren't
It's like, how many times did you watch Gurren Lagann before you realized it was good?
I think it was 4. I
Yeah.
started Gurren Lagann about 4 times before realizing it was amazing.
Yeah. How many times have you attempted to watch Bleach?
Too many.
Yeah, exactly. And you still know it's bad. You still know it's bad.
Yeah. Well, I think Bleach is good for a while, and then I actually recently watched something on it, and basically the guy who made Bleach just like really liked drawing cool stuff, and he drew cool stuff, and then eventually once he got to the point where he was making the manga and the anime, he was just drawing cool stuff with the same storyline because it was a way to draw cool stuff. And you really, when they recycle plot lines, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm out.
I definitely don't disagree with that. He draws some really cool stuff. It's definitely
very nice looking.
It draws me in, but the story doesn't keep me.
Yeah.
I tried it once, and I just kind of fizzled out really hard. Is it actually, how many episodes, if I were to hang in there, does it actually get good? Like, when should I tap out?
Does it actually get good?
I can't remember the arc it is, but once they go to like kind of the spirit
That's second arc, I'm pretty sure.
spirit world, and they do a thing. They're trying to save someone.
Yeah.
After that, you can probably stop.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. I'd say that first 2 arcs, quite
It's
enjoyable.
quite good. It was originally up there. It was One Piece, Naruto, Bleach.
I know.
and
That's why I played it. I was like, which one should I? And I was like, I always remember people talking about that one in particular. I was like,
Yeah, but
and
I
also you're like looking to get into it, and then you look at Naruto, and it's like however many goddamn episodes. It's like,
yeah.
it's like One Piece. I just look at One Piece. I'm so
I think a lot of the Naruto and One Piece fans are people who saw it on like YTV when they were young, or 4Kids TV, and it's a lot easier to follow something into adulthood than it is to start.
Thoughts?
I actually did not get into One Piece or Naruto until recently.
You disgust me.
I'm sorry. Naruto was in, I want to say, the last year and a half now at this point, and then One Piece, I want to say 2012 after.
Was that way about a year and a half ago you started running with your arms behind your back?
You do it once, and they never forget.
Alright. Sorry, Elbrick, I think you had something to say there.
Oh, I was gonna say I also started Naruto maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I had a list of the filler episodes on hand while I was watching it, so that I could skip over like the talking ostrich and stuff.
Oh
like that.
God.
How
Well,
did-
yeah,
how
that's
could
one-
you, man?
That's one thing I remember. It's like mostly filler, like most
It
of
was.
the time.
It's a
Just-
lot of filler.
Believe it.
Believe
Oh,
it.
God.
I think if
I'm
I were
gonna be
gonna
Hokage.
if I were gonna categorize them, and I'm probably biased here, like I think One Piece of those big three, One Piece has the least filler. And usually it's very obvious filler. It's like, they're samurais today. And you're like, nope. Naruto has the most like flashbacks and just like full filler arcs. And Bleach just, instead of like doing too much filler, well, maybe they do, because I don't remember it as well, but they just elongate everything. Everything is just this
Oh.
really long scene, and it's just brutal.
That's almost rougher than having nothing.
Yeah, and I could be wrong. I don't know.
I was gonna say One Piece kind of does that a little bit too, where they elongate some of the fight scenes, and you're just like reading
Well, that's
the
'cause he's
manga. and
rubber. dude.
Or like
hate
the
myself.
early scenes in Fairy Tail where Natsu
Oh,
does his fire dragon punch for
God.
a good 30 seconds.
Oh,
Fire
gosh.
dragon?
Wait for it.
Is there more?
Nope, nope.
Not
Wait,
next
wait for the next
we'll
episode.
continue.
Pull a Dragon Ball Z moment here.
Alright, so sorry, what we've got so far. What were your two?
Mine was Attack on Titan and Pandora Hearts.
Gilbert, your two.
It was just us.
Akamaga Kill and Seven Deadly Sins.
Awesome. Wait, we sort of went off on a tangent because of
We-
me, I think.
We went off a lot of tangents.
It's okay.
already. It's not
Tangents
just
are
you.
good. This is what
We're
we're here
discussing anime and
Yeah.
tangents.
That's perfect. I think someone had something to say about Seven Deadly. I personally, I like Seven Deadly. I think it has some like really problematic stuff in it. That like I think anime should stop doing it, and not to the same extent of like, yeah, I understand a lot of them have fan service. I think it has. Should I say it? It has some really like
Hands-on fan service.
yeah
Very-
hands-on fan service that I don't actually think is okay to perpetuate in a way that's like, if you do it enough, she'll like it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty obvious. I don't think I'm saying something too controversial.
Yeah, no, you seem to be
It
totally.
does do some pretty creepy things.
But I also think some of the characters and some of the art, especially the art, is f***ing dope.
100%.
I swear, every time I see it in the animes now, I just got like the fan service camera angle where it's like the scene is starting, but you know, like, there's like a side transition, inserts right on the and then pans up to the face real quick. It's only like a second, but I'm just like, every time it's like,
One of the characters wearing a
Fan
skirt,
service.
it's like
Oh,
the
yeah,
skirt and like a slight panty shot as they have to get that angle from the lower section. It's
Well,
like,
you know,
yes, this
when
is
they, when they
telling
bend
me.
over and you know.
yeah, it's being all artistic. It's like, oh, they're at the airport picking up luggage. Ass shot as it like starts at that angle for some whatever reason.
For artistic reasons.
It's like,
Planes flying over, but they take the shot from under her skirt.
Yeah.
so I'm
See,
Honestly, though, where is the lie?
oh man.
And those, while I kind of wish a lot of them wouldn't do it because I think it makes it really hard to recommend an anime to a friend.
Yeah.
I think it is different in Seven Deadly Sins because I think it's actually just not okay. You know what I mean?
the
I
hands-on
haven't
stuff,
seen-
yeah.
I
The
haven't seen
very
it, so-
yeah, it's very the literal touchy feely. And if someone came up to me and did the whole touchy feely, I'm like, "F- are you?" And like, you know, next thing you know, I'm calling the cops.
Especially since we're cosplayers a little bit too. So
Yeah.
like, it just makes
So-
you not want to do that costume. Well, I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. But
I would definitely not do it. Just
Yeah.
throwing that one out.
A character that's known for getting hands up.
Yeah.
Is
Sorry, go ahead.
For one, I have to agree with you, Eric. Like,
Gilbert?
yes.
you can say Eric. It's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I definitely have to agree with you because for one, it's like in real life you wouldn't see that kind of thing, but also it doesn't make sense for me for even the character to allow it because for one, it's a princess.
Yeah.
She's obviously gonna have to some degree, you think, a higher standard of herself than than a peasant person. Here she is getting felt up by a stranger, and she's all like, "Oh, this is just kind of weird, but haha."
Yeah.
It's like, no. Like, an average woman is not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
So, like, please don't
like
imply
princess
it.
is like, oh, you touched my ankle. You're like, oh, I guess you gotta lose that hand.
See, that's
Yeah.
that's why I like Merlin, the other female character,
Yeah.
because you know he tries to go up to her and she's just like no, and like just basically punches him in the
Yeah.
face.
Well, it's kind of like I think one that does like a better version, and it's not really the same, but Inuyasha has the whole like sit collar thing. When I was younger, that really upset me, but it's kind of like it's okay to have an equalizer sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because you don't always want to see helpless girl at the whims of strong boy.
Yeah,
and then just take it from there. So,
but
yeah.
even then, though, it's like you occasionally going to have a situation where someone's going to be physically stronger or better at fighting.
For sure.
It's the whole thing's like, but there's a difference between following stereotypes and just having bad female writing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to her,
Yeah.
but in that situation, what I'm referring to is mainly just bad female writing.
Well, so you're saying what the issue is. We're getting nitty gritty. You're saying kind of the issue is with her response to it and not him doing it.
Well, him doing it is definitely a problem.
Yeah,
but
I'm not saying you're saying it's okay that
she
he does
allows it to happen, basically. So it's
Yeah.
kind of one of those things where it's like it's bad female writing because she herself, she for a long time she doesn't even really have much of a personality.
No, she's
No.
pretty bad
She's-
at first.
And like, but she's not done in a way where like you put yourself in her shoes either. So it's not like the main character blank face role where you fill in with your personality. You kind of understand where they're coming from. You're just kind of like enjoying this great anime, and then you see these scenes. You're just kind of like, okay, the first time, yeah, they kind of threw it in there, but you thought it was going to fade after that. Like in most shows, they kind of do that to get you started, and they trail it off as they move on. But they never trail it off. You're just kind of like, this is actually the worst part of this entire anime.
Well, it's funny because, like, in the anime Hitman Reborn, they introduced this really badass female character, and she's an assassin, basically. And her specialty is poisons and killing people through various poisons.
Yeah.
So, when they introduce her, they have, like, an epic battle, and da-da-da-da, and then later on in the anime, when she's actually a regular character, she becomes this literal Mary Sue. And you're very disappointed because you had high expectations literally from day one, and you never saw it again.
Mm-hmm.
Or like kind of verging out of anime, but in Star
No.
Wars, the Queen is super cool in the first movie, and she has like a whole bunch of things that she wants to do, and then she
This is
falls
Star
in
Wars?
love, and that becomes
Sorry.
her character.
Okay, sorry. Can you restart? I got lost. So you're talking about Star Wars, correct?
Yeah, in the prequel trilogy, in the first one, Queen Amidala is a super cool character. She has a bunch of stuff she wants to do. She really cares about her people. And then in the second one, that's all kind of tuned out to she's in love with Anakin. And in the third one, it's completely tuned out.
I do subscribe to the theory that he was manipulating her with force powers because he is so bad and cheesy. There's no way without some sort of like mind control he's pulling this off as like half her age, floating apples and just saying really cheesy shit by the shore.
hate sand.
I would buy that.
Yeah, that's my personal fan theory, but I'm just trying to.
And how do you feel
justify
about Jar Jar Binks?
I think he might have been planned to be a super ultra Sith Lord, and it just like
Yes.
the reception was really bad, so they just backpedaled based on how much time he spends with Sidious, as well as he's literally talking to the entire Senate, just waving his hands, and everyone's like, "Yeah, but this guy says every time, like, well, Empire sounds great. let's do that." He's literally the one who cons them into doing it. It's like, and he's got the Sith eyes. He's got the dark eyes. Not everyone else in his species has those eyes, and they're like, "Dude, you're not even allowed in the city. We don't like you." It's like, is it because he's annoying, or was he super evil? Who knows?
I really hope the extended universe gets an author to write a book where they explain that he is actually just like the ultimate Sith Lord the entire time.
Well, even the thing he says like Jedi magic. He's like they're super weak. He's always like perfectly avoiding everything. He has insane luck to the nth degree, and it's like, and sometimes he even like talks to someone, convince him. He's like waving his hand the way they do, and gets his way like super all the time. Like, I don't know. If you watch the first one, he actually after the first one they kind of backpedal. It looked like, but besides the inside the Senate, he was just like, "Yep, I always get my way. I always get my way."
So in a way, Jar Jar is like Meliodas.
You loop that around a terrible way.
All right, segues. Naughty Rope. Let's go. What are your two?
Okay, that's a tough one, but I'd have to probably put the top Steins Gate. Just love that anime.
Can I just have a moment to cringe a little bit?
The
Just
fact that you
have
don't
to.
like Steins Gate.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just because at the time that I was watching it, literally what they were talking about within the anime science-wise, I was literally doing that in my schoolwork. So I just completely lost interest because I'm like, well, now this is no fun. I'm literally just relearning what I already learned today.
You're microwaving cell phones at school?
That's what I was wondering.
Quantum
A lot
theory.
of bananas were destroyed.
Quantum theory.
I do actually want to kind of reiterate the purpose of this. We're not necessarily naming like our absolute favorite animes. These are just ones we recommend. Right? Yeah.
Oh, in this case,
This-
it is still my favorite.
This one's
Like, it's weird though because I definitely know when you watch it multiple times, it kind of loses the emphasis, the emotion that has the first run. But that first run of that anime was my favorite in comparison to anything. I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed the story. You know, obviously, some of the science in it doesn't really hold up at all, but it's fiction, doesn't matter. It's just basically it's a love story, suspense story.
Yep.
It's got a little bit of everything, a lot of comedy, which makes it great for me. And it's kind of like a little bit of a nerd fest thing. It's got a lot of references that a lot of people who've watched anime or take up a nerd culture will get. And it's a nice one that it's short. That's the most important thing. There's only 25 episodes, but now they're adding 0, so it's going to get longer.
But they were like, you know what, Steingate could use cat girls.
Exactly. But it never overstays its welcome. That's the most important thing for me for anime. When you get past 50 episodes, I usually start feeling it's overstaying its welcome. Yeah. It's why I don't jump into One Piece, not because I don't think it would be enjoyable or don't think it's good. It's just when I want an anime, I want to be able to get to start to finish and get the whole story and feel like I'm wanting more, but never feeling like I'm getting too much to the point where I'm not interested in it. I like to leave on a high note.
I am looking forward to Steins Gate Zero, though.
I definitely agree with Steins Gate. I think Steins Gate is in the same vein as Death Note, where it doesn't necessarily follow a lot of the common anime tropes and stuff. It's sort of like its own self-contained story that happens to be animated. You could do it in another format, but I thought it was really good, and I'm always a fan of something that gives fat guys more things to cosplay.
Daru's amazing. He has some of the best one-liners.
Yeah.
Also, Dr. Pepper.
Yes.
Straight up Dr. Pepper.
That shows the reason I drink Dr. Pepper. I completely
I was
forgot
gonna
about
say,
it as a soda.
Is that why do we have Dr. Pepper currently out on the table right now?
Yes.
Sponsored.
I wish.
I wish.
I wish.
Kidding.
How much of Dr. Pepper I drink now after that show? Oh, man. Yeah. And once again, my second show that I have to recommend. Well, it's hard to recommend because it's so much older now, and especially if you prefer to watch English. I know it's gonna be. But also the animation quality is not there anymore compared to like back in the day when it kind of stood out a little better. But Trigun,
Yes.
love that show. It's just it's goofy, still has some serious aspects to its story, has some good elements and like some good lessons in it. But for the most part, it's kind of like this jokish vigilante justice with a guy who wields a gun in a Western style world and doesn't want anyone to die, and it's just lighthearted and lots of fun.
I was gonna say, can I throw a sentimental moment here? If it wasn't for us watching Trigun as a group, I don't think I would be into anime. Because Trigun was actually one of the first animes that I watched, aside from One Piece, which I watched while studying. But after One Piece, it was Trigun. Disregarding like Digimon and Pokemon, back then, those don't
I thought you
really
were
count.
a veteran.
No, I am a newbie.
I think you're really good at jumping into the deep end with your hobbies or interests. Then
Have you seen my cosplays?
A year after,
What makes you say that?
Yeah, pulls up all the magic cards.
a year after I was trying to get you into Magic, I was just like, you should totally try it. We now sit in a room surrounded by maybe more Magic cards than I own.
Not just mine.
Well,
Okay, we
these
have
are mine,
his
these
here,
are
and
hers.
then Charles's
I
are
have 3 decks.
here.
She
And
has 64.
I might have 14, and you have like 30. Yeah.
I literally spent a solid day doing nothing but make magic decks.
You're really fast at it. You just pick a theme, and you're like, oh, I'm going.
I know that's the part. I pick a theme and I disregard any of the cards.
We also have a.
I go snake theme. What am I gonna do? Grab a bunch of snakes.
I have a Kraken
and
theme one that's just terrible, but it has Krakens in it.
See, there you go.
you also have a room full of like 50 cosplays. So you just,
Okay, 15, 16 now. I have the new one.
you pick a subject and you go full keel. So I respect that from you.
It would be fun otherwise.
I don't want to do a deep dive because I feel like I'll spoil the shows if I get to it, and I just highly recommend them, and that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, second was Trigun. I saw a Trigun movie, and I thought it was really good. Really good.
I didn't want to get into the movies, but both Steins Gate, Trigun, excellent movies. But that Trigun Badlands movie, oh man, that's why you need to watch the series, just so you can have the pleasure of watching.
That's
that
one
movie.
the villain is like a big metal arm guy, or he's like
Yeah.
a big buff dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, one of the better like show to movie animated.
Oh,
I've seen.
100%.
That's one thing I can't stand. Like, every time I watched a show to movie, the first third of the movie is like re-establishing the world I've been watching. I was like, oh god, I wish you just like almost. I know it'd be like commercially not a wise move, but just like assume that the people going to see this movie have watched like one of the shows,
Yeah,
or at least hopefully make it a way where you can just pick it up kind of as you go along. But like, I don't know, I find that was frustrating.
at least like understand they know the concept.
Yeah,
Like you don't have to be like in a world with ninjas. Like
Yeah.
we know.
I've seen them before. Yeah,
Well, it's like the Attack on Titan, I use quotation marks, movies are literally just the entire season put into one.
oh,
It's like, it's not a movie. It is the entire season in one DVD.
I feel like that wouldn't be awful though per se. Like it's a lot of ground to cover though. Like Jesus, that'd be.
I feel like there's a lot of. I haven't seen it, but there must be a lot of really horrifying panoramic shots.
I think recycling content like that too is kind of. I also not super into it. Like Dragon Ball Super had a movie, and I got really into the movie, watched the movie, loved the movie, and then I started Dragon Ball Super, and several of the first episodes are just almost shot-for-shot remakes of the movie, and you're just like, okay, well, I know this, so when do I start watching this new show?
Yeah.
And I get that sometimes you can set up with a movie, and you don't want people to have to pay for the movie to watch it, but I don't think you have to do it all. And I think Boruto does basically the same thing.
Yeah, Boruto released the movie first, and then the anime was released afterwards, and now actually just what I think a few episodes ago where they were at was the end of the movie.
Yeah. And
So it was
that's kind of
beforehand, and then they did part of like the movie basically, and now they're at the aftermath of the movie.
It is for the same reason, like that, like knowing the thing and then watching the thing, that I really, really want to know what happens in Attack on Titan after this point. And every time an episode comes on, it's like, oh, I was clicking there. Oh, I'm just gonna turn that down and move it to the back for a bit. Watch the episode real quick.
By the way,
move it
there
back.
is a new episode.
I know.
All right, so we're gonna put down the podcast.
So, okay,
We're gonna
alright.
watch it.
It's like I really want to read the manga, but I just like I don't want to know the arc and then watch it go down because the animation comes out so slowly. Where I'm just like, this agony of like,
How do you think I feel?
This will probably come off controversial, but I'm a little bit in the school of the Lily Pichu. Read the Wikipedia before watching. So I actually kind of like to know spoilers and like to know what's going to happen before a lot of animes I watch. There's a few very specific ones I don't, but otherwise it's kind of cool to know where things are going and who everyone is.
Yeah, I did that with the, I'm watching a certain scientific railgun right now, and I did that, and first of all, I started watching it without realizing that it was actually a sequel. A certain magical index is actually the first one, but I said screw it, and I looked it up on Wikipedia, and now I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm really bored with this. Like, honestly, it's not, like, it's alright. It's not that great.
Fair. Alright, so that, I believe, brings us to our good pal, Red.
for horror. This is for
Your two picks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
My
two
two
you
picks?
recommend.
Oh, again, it was one of the not one of the first ones I saw. Like I'm thinking in the list, it's probably like in the semi-dozen range. But the Parasite, super stoked on it. Not trying to avoid spoilers about like the whole thing. I really like the concept because they keep establishing sort of like rules how this thing works, and they never break the rules, not once. And it just keeps going on. It's like it tells us a great story, and not once I'm like, oh, that came out of nowhere. It's like no, it's always super consistent. It starts off.
That would be really nice.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty rare. It also ended after not a million episodes, so I think that kind of worked in its favor.
What was it? I think it was 14 episodes? 24?
I think it's pretty
Somewhere-
I think
somewhere
I think
around
it's
there.
under 30. It's under 30, I think.
Yeah.
But really, I liked the animation. It was pretty sweet. Started off funny.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge transformation. To me, it's just like it's all like it's kind of like a coming of age story, I guess. At the end of the day, like you kind of someone who's like early teen, and you kind of watch them kind of figure some stuff out. It's not like brutally teen stuff. Thankfully, it's pretty.
Well, you watch this like squeaky, like typical high school straight A student
change.
basically literally change.
I think it's an analogy for steroids.
Yeah. You know what?
You're not wrong.
I'm weak, but if with the help of this thing that I put inside me, that's not natural to me, I become strong.
No, but it starts off with a very relatable character, has some funny moments, and it gets progressively changes and gets that darker tone. And he kind of like I'd say the whole middle is relatively dark, but it keeps bringing back a little bit of humor. And the action, I think, was pretty interesting. It was actually stressful to watch. Where you're like, there is this thing that there's some amount of risk, like protagonist syndrome, unfortunately. But it's like
Well,
there was really. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I remember us sitting there. The episode would end, and we're looking at each other. It's like 2:00 in the morning. We're like, one more? Yes. No, we have to. We have to.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is, I really like it. It felt really high stakes. Some of the fights were basically like, hey. It's Kenichi? No, that's not his name. That's a different show.
No. Yeah, it is.
It's Kenichi. It's
yeah. So it's basically like, here's my plan. We're gonna try and win this in like one shot. If we don't, we probably die. Like those kind of fights where it's not this prolonged. And sometimes they do those. Yeah. But I really like that idea of like really high stakes, really fast. It's not so much about like who can yell and have more friends. It's about like we have a strategy we need to enact, and
but they also establish risks, and they don't short circuit them like almost ever. It's always like this is a legitimate problem. Probably gonna have to run away for a bit till you figure something out. That's gonna be a little bit better for this. It's like I'm trying not to die and having a horrific weekend.
Yeah.
Pretty much though, like
it's like I don't know. It was
We should have an episode where we just describe animes poorly.
in a not spoilerific way.
No, I know, but just like having a bad weekend. It's like understatement.
Each individual has to say one word, and another person follows it up. We try to describe an anime with each one of us saying one word around the circle.
There you go. There's our next podcast right there.
Sorry, continue.
Oh no, I was just gonna mention like for a moment. Talk about like moments. There was a moment when the first few episodes after like the first major change happens, you're gonna know when you see it. He wants to give him a gift of sorts, and I was in tears laughing because it was so out of left field and just.
It literally was a different tone for the anime. It was just kind of like, wait,
that was one of the highlight funny moments. It's like, all right, check one picture. It was just like
I actually don't know what you're talking about, and I'm pretty uncomfortable with what you just.
I'm glad you were too.
Let's just say
the stroking motion in your direction.
No, it's exactly
what you think.
It's where he is socially. It's totally not okay. But the thing's like, hey, I'm kind of curious. I read about this on the internet. I kind of want to try it, and just like he just kind of goes for it. It's just like in this really awkward situation, but it's so out of the blue because the whole thing is so dark all the time. Even at the start, it was kind of dark, and it was just such a, like, out of the blue. It's like slaps you across the face.
We really need this to be a video podcast.
Yeah.
I want it. Cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
On me. You guys can.
I feel like the incidental noise not be so annoying, because, like, if I just, like, broke my paper, it's like, you have to kind of assume it's just, like, distraction. Versus if you saw me do it, it's annoying, but
you're riveting.
See it.
You're gonna have to make up a specialized room with quiet chairs,
to totally
suspended.
I want to change the tone of this podcast. Every time someone gets up, they act like they're trying to like sneak up and stab a person in the neck. It's like the most utmost care. Everything around.
Yeah, and we're probably still like just flooding this thing with extra
I was
noise.
just thinking, like when. Like in stealth games where the guy like moves his arms so exaggerated. Spider-Man.
Alright, what's your second pick?
You took Attack on Titan. I would recommend that. I really, really liked Avatar. Legend of Korra, she kind of started off at a real like high point. So for me, it made her like a less likable character in a lot of ways. Like it basically was her overcoming personality flaws. In my mind,
overcome.
No, more like she just kind of like brute forced her way through them because she could. But I don't know. I do really like My Hero Academia. It's kind of short. It's like I don't know. If I had to pick, it'd be Parasite and Attack on Titan. Those are the two where I was just like watch until the end hits, and then you're like, No. Double check 3 times. Like, I'm at the end, guys. So that'd be my 2 picks.
I will end just also giving credit to Attack on Titan as a show I quite enjoyed. It's weird. I would say that show was very enjoyable, but I generally remember ending an episode feeling rather depressed. Like,
Yes.
hey,
It's to be expected.
these people are fighting for their lives, and look, they had a moment of success. Hooray! Oh, now they've just died.
Basically, take every single character you've been introduced with, and just they're gone. Just they're gone.
Yeah. To be named is to die.
Yeah, if somebody has a name, chances are they're gonna die at some point.
Yeah, it's very bleak in that respect.
My
Sometimes it's like a wave too. It's like just like slaps you. It's like, oh, they're all dead. Congratulations. I hope you didn't learn any of their names. Like,
my favorite moment and least favorite moment that describes this all perfectly is when they tell Eren, hey, leave, we got this. And as he's like going away, he's like, I have to trust in my friends. I have to believe they can do it. But then when I trust in them, they die. He like turns back and they just all get murdered.
immediately.
After that moment, they're just like, don't worry, you can trust us. We can handle this. You're like, yes, they can
literally
do
have
it.
Two episodes showing how they sort of distrusted and build a trust, even like paid like, and then they just ends with like, and they all die. Like, very quickly.
It's a series of high and lows where they always bring you to this small little hill and then send you in the pit of despair and like barely bring you out of it, then bring you to a deeper pit of despair. You just constantly get more and more depressed as the series goes
I think
on.
there's actually a really good contrast to be made there, because I think Attack on Titan actually does that right,
Mhm.
where I think a show like ReZero, that started out incredibly promising, really cool show, really cool theme, became unbearably hard to watch by the end of it for me.
Yeah.
They kept recycling the same kind of things. I mean, they sort of, the theme is they recycle the same kind of things, but it was just like, oh, I'm sad. Oh, this happened. Oh, I'm not going to change anything. Oh, it happened again. Over and over and over and over and over and over again. And you're just like, okay, we have these minor victories, but then this terrible thing happens, and then I did this, and I finally changed it for the better. It's like those episodes of television, like classic television, that every after-school special does an episode on, where you're like, I wish my life was like this, and then you find out the repercussions and you go back to normal. But over and over and over again with people dying. Like, it's honestly like Attack on Titan, at least there's like a progress, you're learning new things. ReZero is just like a trash pile of sadness.
Fair enough.
No, even though it's a trash pile of sadness, would you call it a bad anime as a person who hasn't watched it yet?
I would suggest watching it, but that's all. I wouldn't say watch it because it's enjoyable. It has some cool characters, but I literally by the end of where it was, I think it might be picked up again for more. Oof. That's all. Every episode I was just like, look at this little dumb idiot going crazy for, and I get that it's all about his like mental psychiatric. It's a mental break, but I just
Speaking of oof dumb when it comes to anime, I just have to say, how do you feel about the fate? I'm gonna call it wrong. Apocapasta, because I always call it that stupid name.
the copy pasta.
A copy pasta.
I haven't really finished it, but I really don't think it's that good or that bad.
I have a weird opinion where it's like, when I'm watching it, I never go, this is boring, because there's always something going on. And it has a lot of like plot twists, a lot of action, but every time I'm looking at it, I'm going, but none of this is good. Like, it's got action, but it's not good. It's got twists, but they're not good.
Yeah.
So I'm just constantly like disappointed, but never bored. So it's like, I can't say this is bad, but I'm not necessarily enjoying it.
It has some good characters, such as Astolfo, who I think is a good character. And I really don't like the main character, the duder. But that's pretty commonplace for me. I think main characters in anime are usually not the most likable. But
he's the blank slate for people to fill.
Very much.
It's either like Mary Sue, or it's like Paragon of Perfect, or it's like can't get anything right. Like, I feel like they always go like a little too extreme, where they might have like one part you relate with, but then the rest is just like kind of dumpstery fiery.
Then
like,
you also have the I'm gonna scream and yell and just charge in. And then
Eren?
Yeah, I do genuinely not. At first with Eren, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll like win me around. I was like, no, he's just like a little shit. It's like 3 seasons in, he's the same guy. If like there was finally a part now where I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe he will finally change, and then I'm gonna get slapped.
Spoiler.
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
I know. I was like, slap. They have this big thing. I'm like, he's probably just gonna be the same shit. Because like he's had moments in the past. And
He learns
same.
and goes, okay, so I'm gonna take it to the next level then. So
That's disappointing to know, frankly. But okay.
I guess for me, and this might actually be something that I believe mentally but might not actually perform when I decide if I like something. I don't overly care about if I can identify with the main character. Like, I don't really... A lot of people talk about that in books or an anime or something where you put yourself in their place and you're like, this is kind of what I might be like. For me, I just want them to be compelling. Yeah. I don't care if they remind me of me.
See, I do the opposite. Instead of putting myself into, like, say, the main character or whatever, I actually, like, if I was sitting here, what would I do?
Right.
And how would I converse with said characters? So I do a self-insert in that sort of retrospect. Okay. Like, can I be part of this situation? And that's how I find something compelling.
Yeah.
It's not that I want to be, like, them, per se. It's just, like, sometimes I'll just look at the thing, it's like, it just seems so impossibly dumb, where it's someone I would want no association with, because I'm like, you would just get on my nerves 24/7.
3-0.
Yeah, and I'm just like... but
literally the worst.
Yeah, like that's... Because, like, when I see Aaron, I was like, wow, I could, like, never be friends with that guy.
Well, can
like,
and Black Star and Soul
he's not a villain. If he was a true villain who, like, was his villainy...
I'm sorry.
Like, let's say if it was, like a good villain, like, be like, does awful things and be, like, really compelling, and, like, sure, it's like not someone I want to hang out with, but like I guess that's the compelling argument. Like that's like so cool to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I don't know. Just Aaron's like, I can just trust you to make the wrong decision most of the time, and like,
and then Mikasa will bail you out.
And Mikasa, the Superman. Yeah.
And then Armin will come up with some sort of plan if things go all friggin' wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think we can...
this blondie boy's gonna shoot you in the face.
I don't think we can degrade Aaron by bringing up Armin as better. I think that's
a little...
I think that show has 3 protagonists and one of them is good.
I think my opinion is biased now that we met the voice actor.
He was really cool.
He was really cool.
He was great.
Josh Grell.
Yeah.
He also did the voice actor for Yuri and Yuri on Ice.
That's a good show.
So that is a good show. I like that show.
I'll stand behind it.
It is a very...
I haven't watched it. I just said it was on ice. I'm like, was there a show named Yuri? And they had a thing, and then they put it on ice. It was like, they did a whole show on
Yuri's a genre.
Yeah.
A genre on ice.
It really...
Like, what?
For those of you who do not know, Yuri on Ice is literally a figure skating sport anime.
Okay.
Yes.
One of my friends watched it
That's
the way
all.
through twice in 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I watched it all the way through once in some days. I think maybe 2 days.
I think I
Not
did
twice.
it. Yeah, I did it within a week for sure.
Basically, we met the guy, we met the voice actor, and she flipped her shit. I'd never seen her more excited.
I got a signed autograph. Come on.
And so I was like, maybe I'll check out this show. And he was an incredibly funny panelist, and then the show was good. I thought the show was good. I am ready to go on to a new topic, so I'm just going to quickly mention my 2, if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
Nope.
First one is Kaiji. I love a weak main character that's still good at something. I really like flawed characters. I really like things that like introduce powers or games, and Kaiji has a lot of that. Like, this is why I'm really good at this one game, and he has to circumvent them, and he has to do his own stuff, fight his own battles, and he's just like a broken main character, and I'm a broken person, and I can identify that with that. This is exactly why I say in practice, I don't believe what I say. And then my other one, and again, these aren't like my absolute favorite, but both of these are my top 5, is a Chinese anime, cartoon, whatever you want to call it, called King's Avatar. It's basically about an MMO player who's greatest at this one game that he plays. He gets kicked off the team. For various reasons, he can't go back. He has to announce his retirement for all these, etc. And then he goes back into the game, makes a new character, and he kind of starts climbing again. And he's building this team of either new players or old players. But it's really cool because I really like League of Legends or whatever. You actually have this like these pros that you follow for so long, and eventually they kind of fell from grace, and you watch them try to make their way back in as they get older. And it's really cool. Parts of it that I like is that there's continuous like there's actually like a romance that feels like a romance that's building, where it's not like, ooh, did he look at me, ooh, ooh. It's more like
Man, I really wish we had a camera.
This needs to be a video podcast.
Yeah, no, next
it's
time.
more just like, oh, we're both like adults, we're both doing this thing. Oh, that's cute, you fell asleep on my shoulder. And she's like, yeah, let's play our video game. And the animation's really good, the fight's really good. My friend showed it to me recently, and I've really liked it.
I do feel like the stereotypical anime, where like we're just like glances and like all the time, like swooning, or like every single girl is after this one guy.
Yeah.
And even when he's like not even like particularly great, just like for some reason seems to be that way. I still find it less annoying than the consistent like Hollywood trope of like we basically hate each other the entire movie, and somehow it's like where are all this tension? It's like no, I'd be like, oh, go away.
That does make its way into anime with the tsundere, which is like, I made an extra lunch. I didn't even want you to have it, but here. And then it flashes back to her with all these bandages on her fingers, meticulously remembering his favorite foods and carving an octopus out of a pumpkin or some shit.
But at least you get a context that she actually did like him.
Yeah.
And she just has a hard time expressing it, so she puts up a wall.
Yeah.
Like, in the movies, like you said, like, they're two polar opposite characters that
Oh,
clearly don't like each other.
Yeah, I can get behind that. It's a bit different. And I think I agree in most regards.
Yeah. And when you said, like, flawed with growth, 100% agree. Because I don't know, they just, to me, they're way more compelling. Especially when they have, like, legitimate flaws that can be exploited. That's not, like, not like the kryptonite thing. To me, it's kind of like a cheese ball. Because to me, that is the getting Samus Aran way to fix a perfect character. It's like, oh, you just lose all your stuff for a bit. It's like, oh, well.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just kind of like an annoying, like, pull your rug moment. Like, they don't actually make a creative way for this to be a struggle.
I like their weaknesses to be their own. Yeah. And I think that the differentiating fact, so Aaron, he a little bitch. Kaiji, he a little bitch. But Kaiji actually tries and excels at not being a little bitch, where Aaron yells and becomes a titan and they get saved by people. Yeah. And it's a very different thing about how they try to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Yeah. I love Attack on Titan.
Because it's so true.
But like Kaiji, he'll like cry and he has to do all this stuff, but then he'll do it. And he'll make that choice, and it will usually, not always, it'll usually come out well for him. Yeah. And it's just really cool.
Yeah. Well,
I'm really glad that you like give a name in the short description, as we all been doing, because when you said Kaiji, I totally thought you were saying Kaijo, like the butt, boobs, and the suit battle one. And I'm like, really? I was not expecting this from you.
Yeah, I changed my answer. But I will say, like, if you're really entrenched in anime, and you like things like League of Legends, look up King's Avatar. It's really refreshing. Like, it honestly kind of like wipes the slate clean of a lot of things. Not my favorite, but really good.
I will put a caveat. Sometimes the perfect character is okay, but every time it's been okay for me, it's always been like in a really tongue-in-cheek sort of anime, like One Punch Man, where it's just like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm totally okay with this. Like, to me, they did it in a funny way, where it was actually like the action was like, it was just like basically subversive and to be funny in that way, where it's like, oh, all the stuff going on the slides is just like,
yeah. And he's also kind of perfect in his imperfection, or imperfect in his perfection, because it's causing him all these problems, and he's just trying to figure out something that works. I think One Punch Man, if we're gonna touch on it a little bit, the other fights than the other characters is so pretty. Like even when he fights, I think it's Genos, where they do like the kind of sparring fight. That's one of the coolest fights I've seen in any anime.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's very like awesome to watch, but it always ends basically the same way.
The robot's broken and he punches a guy.
Yeah,
like just take a wild guess as how every single episode will end. It's always going to be that one.
But they did actually. It's funny how even with like the known ending to the action, which you kind of would have known anyway, with like protagonist syndrome a little bit, where it's like it's really the only way this is going to pan out, unless we just like do a bold move and kill off a protagonist. But like it'd always be like the society around him, like how he's dealing with people, like I'm gonna play up the villain, or like play up that I'm not actually a great hero, so that everyone's like discarding all these guys, or I don't know. There's a lot of these weird moments, or like him actually sort of half-ass caring about that cyborg guy after a while, because like
So we're
that chair.
We're a bunch of socially awkward nerds, and that was us talking about anime.
Check out our stuff, our YouTube page, our Instagrams. Like I had mentioned prior, all of our descriptions will be listed somewhere. And And just hit us up. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, do let us know. If you have a topic that you may want to hear us talk about for the next podcast, that it may be something we might be interested in looking into.
I think everything's been said. I don't think.
Can my description just be like, a guy we knew who had a microphone?
Yeah.